Hello, this is Alec Kerr, the film critic for the Conway Daily Sun. Late last year, it was announced that LucasFilms was being purchased by Disney and that George Lucas was no longer going to have direct involvement with the creation of further Star Wars movies. Now, I've been burning to make a video about this, but I kind of wanted to wait until all the rumors about who was going to be writing it and directing the first film in this new series of Star Wars films, all that got sorted out. And so now, with the announcement that J.J. Abrams will be directing Star Wars Episode 7, I feel more comfortable with finally addressing this issue. Now, when the information first came out, it was kind of a mixed bag of emotions for a lot of fans. Fans who were frustrated with George Lucas's handling of his creation, what with the seemingly endless revisions to his original trilogy and the debacle that was the prequel trilogy. The less involved he was, the better, seemed to be the consensus from fans, and I am of that viewpoint as well. But the involvement of Disney seemed to scare a few people a little bit. And I'm not really that bothered by Disney now owning Lucasfilms and creating further Star Wars films. Disney has been purchasing a lot of companies recently. Pixar, Marvel Comics, Muppets, and so far with these companies they purchased, they've basically allowed the companies to run without their involvement. And so far the output since these companies have been purchased by Disney hasn't really changed, and the quality has been very high. So say whatever you will about Disney's handling of their own films. Like, do we need a fifth Pirates of the Caribbean? Not really. But they do seem to be handling these companies they've acquired in a very positive way, and kind of just letting them go off and create their content without much involvement. And that's great. And if with Lucasfilms, if they follow the same sort of model that Marvel has been with just getting the most top-notch writers and directors, I believe that they could really put out some quality films here. And I do believe they're following that model, what with J.J. Abrams getting on board as director, and the writer, Michael Arndt, I think his name is, who did Toy Story 3 and Little Miss Sunshine, writing Episode 7, and Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, writing Episode 8. All this is very promising, and I do believe it's going in the right direction. I think J.J. Abrams really is a good fit. If you go back to 2009, when J.J. Abrams put out his reboot of Star Trek, I loved the film, and I'm not a huge Star Trek fan. And one of the things I kept saying was that what he did with that film is what George Lucas should have done with his prequel films. And it had a sense of fun, a sense of energy, and it also had a base in reality. The big issue with the Star Wars prequels was they were so phony looking. There was so much computer-generated visuals that nothing seemed like it was based in any place of reality. And that wasn't an issue with Star Trek. They seemed to exist in that universe, and it was believable, which wasn't really the case with the Star Wars prequels. So having J.J. Abrams at the helm of Star Wars is fine by me, and I think it could be a great thing. Now comes the question of whether or not we even need more Star Wars films. I'm kind of two minds of this. Like, clearly there are a lot more Star Wars stories to tell. And I haven't read any of the expanded universe fiction, but there's tons of stories to be explored. But I'm not sure we need to do this exploration with the original characters from the original Star Wars films. In fact, I was rereading some of Roger Ebert's reviews of the Star Wars films, both his original reviews and the reviews of the special editions. And what he said in his reviews of Return of the Jedi, first in 1983, he said, "If George Lucas persists in his plan to make 9 Star Wars movies, this will nevertheless be the last we'll see of Luke, Han, Leia, although the robots will be present in all the films." And then he echoed these thoughts again in 1997 when there was the special edition in which he wrote, "It was the correct decision for George Lucas to end with a trilogy and then move to another point in time for the continuation of the saga. To return to these characters a fourth time would destroy the mythic structure of the story and turn it simply into a series." And I agree with that assessment. I do think that the story of Luke, Leia, and Han is basically done. Say what you will for the prequel trilogy, but what it did, it made those 6 films the story of Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader. It became his story arc, and that story arc is completed now. So I do think it would be the right decision to just move away from those characters and just create a new story. Within the Star Wars universe, maybe you have cameo appearances by Luke or Leia or Han, but they should not be the focal point. Their story is done. That being said, if I just to completely contradict myself, I would love to see the early days of Han Solo and Chewbacca, like a prequel just about them. Because Disney has said that they're also, in addition to making the trilogy, the new trilogy, they're going to make standalone films. And I would love to see a standalone film just exploring Han Solo in his early smuggling days. It would be very much like Firefly, and I would be so excited about that. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up. So keep watching. I'm sure I will have other thoughts and maybe rants and raves about the new Star Wars films in the future. Anyway, keep watching.